Morning, everybody. It is Friday. Oh, no, sorry. Saturday, August 1st, 2020. It is going to be a rainy day today here in Indy. I forget what's the temperature, like 70-ish degrees? 64 degrees right now in Indianapolis. So today we're going to do, it's end of the month, so we had a bunch of people move out. So this week we'll probably get a bunch of videos that we can go through next week. But I'm going to go through some more deals that I'm finding online. We're going to do quick numbers on them. Quick as in usually it takes about a half an hour, 45 minutes to do each property. But at least I'm not spending a half an hour driving to the property, half an hour viewing the property, half an hour driving back. But this is quick and dirty ways to run numbers on houses. And typically what I usually will do is I will come up with some random numbers. You know, like if they've got good pictures, I'll go through those pictures. Good pictures. I will run through those pictures, come up with a rough estimate, and then maybe I'll drop extra $3, $5, $10,000 if I think the house is really rough. To come up with numbers that I will make a some will call them a lowball offer, some will call them just a spitball. But basically, I'll make a verbal offer to the seller or the wholesaler, and just be my standard spiel is that, hey, don't be offended by my offer, and I won't be offended if you say no. So typically, I'll just make an offer and say, hey, look, I'm looking at, I'm thinking about making you offer $30,000 cash. I'll close in a week as is. I just want to send one of my guys over to take a look at it just to make sure that, the repairs that are needed are what I think they are. Sometimes they'll say, oh, hell no. And sometimes they'll say, yeah, not at this time. Or sometimes they say, okay, let's go look at it and then see. Or sometimes they'll come back and they'll say, let's say I said 30,000. They might come back and say, oh, go, let's say they were asking 40 or 50, all right? And then they come back and they say, we'll go take a look at it, and but the lowest we can probably do is 35, right? So they're getting close into my ballpark. We'll go take a look at it, and then we'll come back and say, look, this, and this need to be repaired. So if you guys want to do 30,000 cash, give us a call. And a lot of times we get those deals. So I kind of was thinking about doing some flips this morning, running some numbers on flips, because a lot of you guys seem to struggle with flips. It's a different breed. Like anything, there's a lot of hidden costs. And so we need to kind of go over some of those hidden costs. Let's, fair warning. My family is late nighters, and they usually sleep in the morning, but my youngest is up, so he may show up down here because he doesn't seem to understand that I told him I'm on the whatever, YouTube. So anyways, all right, so we're going to get into it. If you guys got questions, put them below. If you guys wanted me to do a review on a property for you, send them to me throughout the week or whatever, and we'll do them on Saturday morning. So anyways, all right, let's get to it. Logo. All right, so I am not going to pick on anybody. I am just going to run numbers, guys. I'm not, you're going to see people's contact info in these ads, and that's not me picking on them or anything. I got up late this morning, and I just pulled up my Facebook, and I pulled up ads, and I'm running numbers. So I'm not picking on anybody. I have not really run any numbers yet, so we're going to run the numbers and see if they work out for me, you, everybody. All right. So anyway, so I found this one here. This house is a 3-bedroom with 125K ARV. They don't put in rent comps. So I'm assuming that they're wanting to do a flip on it. They're saying the purchase price is $87,900. The rehab is $10,000. All in is $97,900. and then they're saying that it's worth $125,000. Okay, so I'm trying to think here. I'm going to try to run quick numbers. Let's just run with what they've got in this ad. Okay, so I'm just going to run these numbers. All right, now this is a flip form that I use. And basically, or I used to use it. I don't really use it anymore. You guys see how I do repair estimates nowadays. But this is what I used to use a long time ago. But I still use this form. I just heavily neuter it. So I would typically go through all the pictures and I would come up with what I think a repair estimate is. And then I would come over here and then just drop a number in. So $10,000 worth of repairs, right? But this is some of the stuff you do. So here's something you want to consider. How long is it going to take me to repair this house, right? I buy it, close on Friday. How long before I get it back up and running? I think, and this is going to sound long, but I think probably for every 10 grand, you want to figure it's going to take you about 3 to 4 weeks to get it done. You might be able to get it done a lot quicker. But especially if you're newer, I think that you're going to run into situations where you're going to be dealing with contractors and you're going to have delays and you're going to have all sorts of other stuff. So I would typically say you want to have 3 to 4 weeks per $10,000 that you're going to put into rehab. So on this one here, my repair timeline is 1 month. So I put that in there. Now on this one here, I created this form, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, 2007-ish, so 13 years ago. So there was 4 different options, right? So if I want to flip it, that's a retail. If I want to lease option it, that's another option. If I want to rent it, that's another option. And if I want to wholesale it, if I wanted to buy it and then just wholesale the deal to somebody else, I could put that in there. And then like here, you could put in there, how much money are you wanting to make if you wholesale the deal? Okay. Now this one here, we're going to do retail, right? Because we're buying this, we're going to do $10,000 worth of repairs, and then we're going to flip it, right? So now this is different stuff here, and maybe this is beneficial to you guys. Different stuff that you need to look at when you're looking at the house. On the exterior, you want to look at the construction. You want to work with the cement work, the patios, the porch, the retaining walls, the driveway, stuff like that. You want to run those in there. Your paint, exterior siding, etc. If you're going to have to pressure wash, and then you're going to have to paint or scrape and paint, blah, 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 blah. If your garage is going to need some work, if your roof is going to need some work, if your gutters and downspouts, your attic, your foundation, if the foundation needs some paint or needs some foundation work, put that in there, right? Yard. The yard's going to need some mowing and all that sort of stuff and some cleanup, stuff like that, then that's different. Landscaping, if you're going to have to do some landscaping, you're going to have to create some curb appeal, right? You're going to do that. If you're going to have to do dumpsters, right? Then you want to figure out how many dumpsters you think you're going to have, and then you're going to figure that number in. Now, this is an old number, but I think it's still relatively usable because typically I'm paying between, I want to say $350, $400 a dumpster. If it's a bigger dumpster, you're probably looking at $400 or $500. A 40-yarder is probably going to be $400 or $500. So this number is whatchamacallit, for dumpster count. So if I put in whatever, if I put in 3, then I'm going to be charged whatever I set this at. Right now, if you've got clean out, then you might want to bump this number up a little bit more. So if you've got to have a person there to clean it all out, then you're going to have to pay a little bit more. HVAC, water pipes. These are mechanicals. HVAC, the water pipes. If I got to replace the plumbing, if I got to replace the soil stacks. Soil stacks are the vent lines, the big major lines, everything feeds into that goes and shoots all that waste out, right? Electrical service into the house. Typically when I was going through these houses, I would write down, okay, it's a 200 amp circuit, it's breakers, it's fuses, it's grounded, yes or no, is it grounded? Water heater. I mean, these are pretty typical nowadays. Actually, my prices come way down on water heaters. We're paying about $400 for a water heater and $150 for installation. So about $550, $600 is what we're paying for a water heater installation now. Foundation, basement, structural. This again kind of goes back to like this one up here, foundation paint, but it's kind of more here. Windows. These prices have changed a lot. because it's about $300 a window now. Oversized windows, I think they're still about the same, $500, $600 a piece. Glass block windows, they're not that much. I think they're like $100 for the windows, and then probably $100 to install. Interior doors, they're not 200, they're more like 100. Especially if you're not replacing the frames, right? We're just replacing door cards. Exterior doors, these are actually gone up. They're about $200 now, I think, too. Yeah. Screen doors, so you can add all that sort of stuff in. Cosmetics, entries, and stairs. These are different rooms of the house, so you can kind of go through there and kind of figure it out. Typically, I'm figuring for paint, I'm figuring about $100 to $150 per room to get a room repainted. If it's just the walls, that's a different story than if it's walls and ceilings. If the kitchen, this number still holds pretty true. If we're going into a kitchen, we're doing 10 feet of cabinetry, then I'm going to put in 10 feet of cabinets at $200 per linear foot, right? So if you're going along a wall for 10 feet, every foot, that's uppers and lowers and countertops and sinks, are about $200 for every foot of that. So, if you're putting in 10 feet of cabinets, it's $2,000, right? Let me go back and eliminate that. If you're replacing appliances, typically what we've been doing is I'm putting in, these are on rentals. I'm putting in used. I do have a really good used place that we buy from. They buy a lot of stuff that's been discontinued, or they buy bulk. So we get really, really good deals from them on stainless and stuff like that, and they're in really, really good shape. I personally am not so worried about matching. It's got to all be whatever Fisher Price, right? I don't care. I'm putting in decent stuff. I think if you're selling a used house, then people aren't expecting everything to be matched, right? It doesn't all have to be Frigidaire, or it doesn't all have to be KitchenAid or whatever. Now, some people may argue with me, and that's fine. You can go get your, all matched. But I really don't think in this day and age most people know or even care about that stuff anymore. So, different rooms, different things that you're going to have going on, stuff like that. Now, flooring, we don't do carpets anymore. We're doing LVP. And so it's about $3 a square foot is what we charge our clients. And that's about what that's about cost for us. It's about $1.25 I think it's a little bit more than that. It's about $1.30, $1.40 for flooring, material wise, glue and the LVP itself, and then installation is about $1.50 a square foot. So it ends up being about $3 a square foot. We're not doing as much tile anymore. But when we were doing tile, we were buying the store-bought stuff that Lowe's sells in bulk. And it's pretty good-looking stuff. It's pretty, realtor beigey, right? So it would be about $1. I think it was about 79 cents a square foot is what we were paying for the tiles, and then we were adding in let's say another 30 cents for the grout and all that sort of stuff, and then we were adding in about $1.50 a square foot for labor. So it's probably about the same, $3 a square foot to install that. Might be a little cheap. Like I say, we're not doing a lot of tile anymore. We're really just doing LVP flooring everywhere. Kitchens, bathrooms, everything gets LVP now because it's just a better product. It's easier to install. Tile, you're installing it, you're coming back a day later after it's cured, and then you're grouting it, and then you got come back a day after that to clean it all up. So it's just a labor, not necessarily labor intensive, but it's a time intensive task. Let's see here. So ARV, so this is miscellaneous. If the property is in relatively good shape, then I would add in like a 3% miscellaneous fee. if it's, I know you guys have seen those on my charts that we do, where I put at the bottom miscellaneous, and then after that a final clean, right? So so ARV, so this is the after repaired value, and it's 3 to 10%. If the house is kind of a nightmare, then I'll do a 10% ARV for miscellaneous. So if it was $125,000 ARV after repaired value, then if it was a disaster, you know, 40, 50, $60,000 worth of repairs, then I'm going to probably figure about a 10%, you know, 8 to 10% of that for miscellaneous stuff. Refinishing hardwood floors. I'm not a big proponent of refinishing hardwood floors. Maybe in flips I would do it. Again, it's very time and labor intensive. I think we used to get about $1.50 a square foot, but we haven't refinished any hardwood floors in a long time. Nowadays we're just doing LVP. We're actually doing LVP over hardwood floors unless it's really going to make the case for the house, right? I mean, there's exceptions to every rule. So, okay, so a couple of things to consider here. When you go to flip a house, in this current market, it's going to take, you know, you got your repair timeline, right? And then, so it's going to take me a month after I close. It's going to take me a month to get it done, and on a $10,000 rehab. And then it's probably going to take me, now I know everybody's going to be like, oh, I got my house sold in a day. It was on the market for 1 day and it sold. But the banks are taking between, you know, 60 and 90 days to actually close. Especially on like first time home buyer houses and stuff like that. They're just taking forever. And let's face it, everybody and their brother in the normal world, the normies, they want to use a big bank, you know, Chase, Huntington, you know, these guys who charge a boatload for closing costs, and they are taking their sweet time to get your deal processed. And you know, it's just, I would not, I mean, I caution everybody, you can use whoever you want, but you need to find a decent bank that's going to process you fast. But most of these banks, they're going to use what? Quicken Loans, Rocket Loan, yeah. Rocket Me to the poorhouse. I think they have a minimum of like 1 or 2% that they charge. I think it's more than that. I think it's actually like 3% that they charge in closing costs to the buyers. So anyways, but you know, you really can't pick who your buyer is going to use. So I typically say it's going to take 2 to 3 months for you to get it closed after you've got an accepted offer. And I mean, you know, that's, you know, if you sit on the market for a week or 2 weeks or whatever, you know, then that's what it's going to be. So, okay, so you've got holding costs is what I'm trying to get at. All right, so here's where I run the numbers, right? So we got a $10,000 estimate. I just put it in under HVAC. It doesn't really matter. I just wanted to get it down here for my total estimated cost of repairs is 10 grand, right? So I plug in my ARV, right? He told us $125,000 plus, right? 125 grand. Now, how much profit do you want to make off this deal? Me personally, if I'm going to do a flip, I want 25% of ARV or 25 grand, whichever one is more. That's me personally. Now, you guys can do your own numbers and you can come up with your own prices in here, okay? But me personally, I want to make 25% or 25 grand, whichever is higher. So 125,000 minus 31,250, that's 25%, right? Less repair estimate, there's our 10 grand for repair estimate. Purchase costs, you're going to spend about $1,000 closing costs, usually. It might be a little bit more, maybe a little less, but most of the time it's going to be, you're going to spend about $1,000. Holding costs, now this is the biggie. Because we're doing 1 month, right? And then I'm figuring another 3 months, you know, I'm going to pay myself for my money. Right? I paid cash for this house. I'm rehabbing it. It's going to take me about 4 months. This is about what I'm going to pay taxes, insurance, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. You know, some of that's to me. Principal and interest is to me, not to a bank. But I'm going to give myself that money. And then taxes and insurance. It's what's going to cost me to do it. You know, and if it's vacant, your insurance is pretty high, right? So anyway, so these are holding costs. So I'm spending almost $2,800 in holding costs over 4 months. Leave me alone. What am I doing? Am I doing something wrong? No. All right. So, okay, sales costs. Now, here's a biggie. People seem to forget about. All right. it's going to cost me money to sell it. Tim, buddy, you need to quit texting me. Anyways, sales cost. It's going to cost me about 8 to 11% to sell this house. What? No way. I can't believe that. That's crud. It does. By the time you hire a realtor to sell your house for you, you're going to spend 6 or 7%, right? Most buyers that are showing up on these houses are expecting the seller to pay up to 3% of their closing costs. So there's 3% plus the 7% that you got to pay your realtor. So you're up to 10% already, right? 10% of your ARV. So you just lost $12,500 towards closing costs. So, you know, $125,000, you know, most people, you're like, oh, it needs $10,000 worth of repairs, right? So 87.9 plus 10,000, 97.9, right? Oh, but you're going to sell for 125. Oh, I'm going to make basically what, $28,000, $27,000? No, you're not, buddy, because you got to spend 12,000 of it towards closing costs. Oh, so now I'm down to whatever, $15,000 cash. Now maybe that's enough for you. I don't know. You need to be the purveyor of what number is good for you. Now, I have it figured at 8% because I'm a licensed realtor. So when I list a property, I'm not paying I should pay myself, but I don't. Because it's coming out of my pocket, so it's coming back to me, right? Plus, I'd have to pay taxes on that, so I'll pass. But I guess I got to pay taxes on the gain, right? So anyway, all right, so does that make sense? You're going to spend between 8 and 11% on closing costs when you go to sell the house. So 125 minus 31,250 minus $10,000 in repair. So 31,250 is our profit. $1,000 in closing costs when you buy the house, purchase costs right there. Holding costs, $2751.91. That's what I'm paying myself for my money while I was doing this flip. Less sales costs, 8%. I put 8% in here. You know, maybe you'll find a realtor will do it for 6%, and then you only got to spend 2% in, you know, but for our numbers here, let's just say it's 8%. So that means my max allowable offer is $69,9809. So about 70 grand. He wants 87.9. So we're a little ways off for me. Now maybe you guys are okay spending the extra 17 grand. I don't know, 18 grand. But for me, I would have to buy this house at 70 grand, right? So now what I might do is I might send a message to this guy and say, hey, I know you're asking 87.9, but I can do 70,000 cash. Or maybe I would, you know, because I haven't even seen this house. So I'd probably drop it down to, I'd say, you know, hey, I know you want 87.9, but I'm probably at 65 and I need to go look at the house, right? And then, you know, don't be offended by my offer. I won't be offended when you say no. And then, you know, just kind of go from there. I'll pay you, you know, whatever I said, 65,000 cash. I'll close in less than a week. As fast as the title company can close, I'll be there and I'll do as is. I just want to go look at it, make sure my numbers are right. If my numbers are right, then we're good to close. You know, I'm not going to tie it up for a week or 2 weeks or whatever. I'm going to let you know after I do my numbers, you know, so maybe within 24 hours of me inspecting it, I'm going to let you know. So, but that's how I typically run numbers. Now, a lot of people, you know, if you ask a lot of people, they're like, heck yeah, man, I'm making 28 grand. No, you're not, dude. There's a bunch of hidden costs, right? You follow me? Now, maybe you're okay with those hidden costs, right? I mean, we're literally at, what did we just say? Where'd my calculator go? There it is. We're at, 87.9 plus 31,250 plus $10,000 plus, no, that's not right. What did I just do? 31,250. Oh, that's the profit I wanted to make. That's where I screwed up. 87,900 plus $10,000 in repairs plus $1,000 in closing costs plus 2751.91 is 101 plus $10,000 in closing costs. 111 minus $125,000. Whoops, not 1.25 million. So maybe you're okay with 13,349.09 for profit. 13,349.09, which is 13,349.09. I think it's right. Is this right? I can't remember. We're going to see if that's right. Well, you're making about 10% profit, almost 11% profit right there. So maybe you're okay with that. You know, I mean, I guess if this takes you 4 months, you could do 3 in a year, right? So let's say you made 13,349.09 times 3. You used your same, whatever you got into this, $100,000. You know, divided by, so that's about a 40% return over the period of a year, if you can get 3 of these done in a year, if you could do 3 flips. So the market is a bit volatile, so I don't really want to consider, you know, I don't want to assume, me personally, maybe you do, that I'm going to make 3 flips at, you know, if I'm going to make 10% each. There's not a lot of fluff there at 10%, right? 10% profit on $125,000, $12,500. You make one mistake, or they come through, especially now when they're doing inspections. Buyers are highly, they're like, what do you call it? Highly scared. I'm trying to think of an analogy for a bird or an animal that's always scared. Anyways, they're like scared little rabbits. They just don't know what to think. People just don't understand mechanicals on properties anymore. And inspectors are scared to death that they're going to get sued. So inspectors are pointing out every little itty bitty thing. And it seems like every little itty bitty thing sets these owners off, these buyers off, right? Especially first time home buyers, right? Oh my gosh, I'm spending $125,000 on a house. Now, granted, it's a lot of money, but, you know, most of the time they're not bringing any money to closing. So, you know, but they're like, oh my gosh. I mean, I guess I've bought way too many houses, so that's the reason I'm not like, oh my gosh. So anyways, like baby deer, that's right, Allie. Anyways, so yeah, so between the and most realtors, what do I say? I can tell you the number of realtors that I know are good, and count them on one hand, and I've lost 3 of those fingers in a chainsaw accident. Most realtors are not doing a very good job of curbing fears in buyers. Most buyers don't know enough, and they're getting scared like baby deer. The inspectors are scared they're going to get sued, so they're pointing out everything. And I mean, people are spending $300-400 for an inspection, so they want to get their money's worth. So the inspectors got to find issues. Realtors are special. They are special. I know. I am one of them. I are one of them. Anyways, but you know, I mean, there is good realtors out there. They're hard to find, and most of the time they're making money for themselves. You know, the savvy ones are, you know, they're not very, they're few and far between. So anyway, so all right, so it took about half an hour to do this one, and we didn't even look at pictures. So let's look at just another one. There was another one up here, up above, and I'm not even, I haven't even run numbers. Now we spent some time just talking about other stuff. So here's another one, and this one here, this one here, I guess let's do a, we're gonna do, oh, I better pull this off the screen real quick so you guys don't see my login. I gotta remember my password. All right, so I'm gonna help you guys, teach you guys how to run maybe necessarily a CMA, a comparative market analysis. Is my screen locked up? What's going on here? Okay, it's fixed itself. All right, so I'm gonna teach you guys how to. We sell a $5 CMA. So for $5, I will run you a report of active, pending, and solds within a quarter-mile radius over the past 1 year. And I will do leases over the past 2 years. Right. So for $5, I'll send you this report. So I'm going to teach you guys kind of how I go through it, because one of the guys yesterday had paid. He's been buying some $5 CMAs, and I'm cool. I love it. But you know, I think he was wanting more analysis on my part. He wants me to tell him how to run numbers. He wants me to look at his numbers and do it. And I'm going to be selfish, and I'm going to tell you right now, for $5, I'm not going to spend any time looking at your CMA. I'm going to run the report and send it to you. I did create a video a while back where I kind of go through how to run numbers, how to look at the different houses and figure it all out. And so I always give them that, but I'm not necessarily going to sit down and review your thing and come back and go, yeah, I think your house is worth about 100 grand. Because right now this market is very volatile. And what I think a house is worth versus what you think a house is worth is, you know, can be light years apart. Anyways, so what we're going to do here is let's look and see here. This property is 11034 whatever Essen Court. So let's start to plug this in. Essen Court. Okay. So results. So you see here, active, pending, and solds over the last 365 days, 1 year. Leases over the past 730, and we're within a quarter-mile radius, right? Now, what I usually send to people looks totally different than what we're going to see here, okay? Not necessarily totally different, but it's a different interface. It's more gooey, you know, graphical user interface. Is designed for the layman. It's not designed for somebody who's quote unquote savvy. But you will get, like this sheet here, you will get to see a lot of these specs and stuff like that. Let me see if I can actually pull up the one that we sent recently. Hold on just a second here. Okay, so this was one that we sent to a guy, and he had asked us about a certain property, right? And so anyway, so when he first gets it, he clicks this link. He gets an email, and he clicks the link, and he gets to see the properties, right? And so this is what he typically sees. So what I typically tell people is they come up here to these triple dots, and then they'll click on this, and then this is the one I like, consumer single line, right? So in here, you get that spreadsheet view, just kind of like what I got. Where is it? There it is. Mine might have a little bit more, but I mean, typically you get this stuff in line item form. This one's only got 2 because I was hyper looking for something special. But so you get to see basically it's 2 bedrooms, 2 baths. It's 1,120 square foot. You know, if there was, this MU is main plus upper, so main floor and upper floors. If its total square foot was a lot bigger, so like let's say this was something like 1,700, then we'd know that it probably had a basement, right? How many acres it is, when it was built, basement, yes or no. Is it a sold comp? Is it an active comp? Is it a pending comp? These are sorts of things that you get to see. Now, so, you know, typically I tell them to do that. Now there's also other stuff in here. I can't remember. There's a consumer brief. There's consumer full. So this is basically the sheet. So yeah, so see here. So I think one guy this week or last week had asked me about, well, I get to see what it was listed for versus what it was for sale for. Yes. So see here, was listed for $114,900. It's sold for $108,000. Now I don't know if they show. Yes, sold terms, conventional insured. So this was sold to a buyer, you know, an end buyer. Right, let's see if this thing will let me click through. And this one was conventional loan as well. See right down here, conventional. Seller paid closing costs, $1,500. So that kind of does it. Now, this is up to the selling agent marking this stuff down. So like here was $108,000 close price, but they said they did not pay any closing costs or points. That may or may not be true. If the realtor is busy, then they may have not marked it down. But anyway, so you get that. There used to be a map view, I thought. Map view. So see here, you can see the 2 properties, and you get a map view. So this is kind of a pretty cool thing for people. For $5, man, I mean, this is what I use on a daily basis when I'm looking at properties, right? Except mine is a little bit more full blown, but I've tailored it to my needs, right? So anyways, so all right, so we're looking at this property here, 11034. It's 1,100 square feet. It's 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. So do we think that his ARV of 135 is realistic, right? So if we're doing $20,000 worth of rehab, we're going to be doing a decent amount of rehab here, right? So we're going to probably end up doing a lot of cosmetics. So 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. Isn't that what we were? 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 1,100 square feet. These are things I look at. I'm looking to compare, similar properties. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, right? And this is 1,300 square feet, 1,246, 1,352. We're at 1,100 square feet, right? So we're a little smaller, right? All right, so, we're looking at our subject property is, I'm going to look at map here. So this is 2 different neighborhoods. Oops, sorry. So our subject property is in this neighborhood, right? And then there's another neighborhood across the street. So when you're looking at map view, I'm sorry guys, this thing is kind of ticking me off a little bit. So this is 2 different neighborhoods. So now if this was inner city, quarter-mile radius is great. Now, so what you want to do is, man, quit. So you want to really isolate it to the one neighborhood in the suburbs like this. You're going to want to isolate it to the one neighborhood. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this one here, even though it's a 1,025. We're going to come in here and look at that listing. And we're going to find out what the neighbor of that neighborhood is. That neighborhood is Hunter's Crossing. Okay, so now then I'll go back over here, my copy of agent single line, and I will just basically, I'll trigger on the Hunter's Crossing properties, right? These are all rentals. Aha, so here's a gotcha, okay? You guys with me? There is no Hunter's Crossing houses that are on the higher price range, right? So let me look here. Let's look at one other thing here real quick. Hold on. Map view. Let's pick one closer to our subject property just to make sure we're talking the same neighborhood, because this might be considered one neighborhood here and then this might be a different neighborhood. So let's pull up this house across the street and we'll see if that is Warren Woods. Is that what we said earlier? I can't remember. We're going to go back and look. Warren Woods. Copy of agent single line. Warren Woods. Warren Woods. Okay, so Warren Woods. So we are right. Okay, so here's 1, 2, 3 for Warren Woods. We're not going to pull in Cherry Lake, but we are going to pull in Warren Woods. Okay, so here's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. It's 1,490 square feet. That's bigger than us, right? So we're going to subtract some money from that one. This one's 1,246. So again, we're going to subtract some money from that. And this house didn't sell for 135, right? Neither one of these two sold for 135. So let's look here at this one. So this one here is 1,490 square feet, at least according to the assessor. Source is broker, so the broker gave that source. And when I'm looking through these pictures, I want to look and see how nice is this property, right? How nice do I need to make my property in order to compete, right? So we're looking through, we're looking at pictures. They got carpets, they got decent walls, it's pretty nice, right? Keep going. Yeah, we got 27 pictures to run through. Oh, nice wallpaper. I'm probably not going to have wallpaper in a house because that's pretty much 70s, even though this house was built in the 80s. Got a decent tub. Or is that a walk-in shower? It is a walk-in shower. All fiberglass. There's the house. You're going to look at different things like the lot. If you've got a decent lot, if you're backed up to a busy highway, especially going into a down market, which I think we're going into a down market. I may be wrong. Government continued to, hyperinflate us. But I think we're getting ready to go into a down market. So if it backs up to a busy road, let's go back to map view. So our subject property is on the end of a cul-de-sac, so it's fine. It backs up to another house. Now, if it backed up to a busy road, like, one of these houses, they back up to this road here, and this is German Church, and it's a pretty busy road, right? This one, Hunters Boulevard, is not very busy, right? But German church is a pretty busy road, right? So people don't want to hear the road noise, right? Back up to a highway, whew, yeah. So typically I lived through the 2007 dream, and I was flipping houses during that. And so typically, if your house has anything wrong, it's about a 5 to 10% reduction, most likely 10%. So we had a house that had a 40-foot tall evergreens behind it that lined the back of it, and then we had a 40-foot tall sound barrier, and then we had the highway back behind it. I mean, we could sit out on the back patio of this house and whisper back and forth and hear each other, no problem whatsoever. If you didn't hear what I just said, we could whisper back and forth to each other and have no problems. But that house took a 10% dump because it backed up to the highway, even though you couldn't see it and you could barely hear it. So, if we're going into a down market, these are things you got to think about. So here's those 3 houses that sold, check marked, right? So let's go back to our results. So this one sold for 120. It was on the market for 8 days. Let's see what we got here. This is not one of our comps. This is one of our other comps. This one sold, well, it says sold for 136.5, 1,246 square foot. Oh, it was listed for 130 and it sold for 136.5. So they got into a bidding market. It was on the market for 3 days. All right, so let's go back here and see. So this one did close pretty quickly. So this one was 628 pending, and then it sold 2 days ago on the 30th, 2020. But let's go forward one more. Is this one of my check mark? Nope. Nope. Let's go back here. 19, this one sold for 120. Pending was 1213, so it did take about a month to close too. So I'm being made into a liar on some of these. Let's see what we got here. Where's the other check mark? This one was listed for 105 and sold for 106. Let's look at this one and see. The floors aren't bad. Got stainless appliances. Needs a little bit of work on the back, the patio. See, I would have come through and probably pressure washed and painted this deck. Got a little bit of a bow there. Maybe I would have propped it up a little bit, but I would have removed this back handrail, like totally removed it. Maybe put a little step down right around here, right? All right, commentary. That's it. That's all the pictures we get. We don't even get any interior shots. I mean, I guess we got 1 interior, 2 interior shots. Terrible shots. 3 interior shots. Terrible. Who was that realtor? Don't use that guy or girl. So this one here. Oh, this was a cash deal right there. Terms cash. So they bought it for cash. So did they sell that one again? No, that's a different one. So anyways, these are things that I would look at. And again, you can see some of that sort of stuff in here. Whoa, what did I do here? Back to results. So we're going to go to consumer full version. And then we can go through our pictures like on this one here, but we get to see that stuff. Pended date 3/29, and then it closed on 5/15, so it took about a month and a half. And then this one here, and that was conventional. Yeah, we already did all the conventional stuff. Days on market are up here, 41. So it sat on the market for 41 days before it got an offer. This one sat on the market for 180 days, so 6 months it sat on the market for. Now what we don't see is if they had any price reductions on this sheet, and I don't know if we did or not. They gave them $1,500 in closing costs. Disclosures, these are floodplain. But it backs up to a river. That's kind of cool. So, in a lot of cases that'll help your values, but so these are all things that I would look at. You want to look at square footage. You want to look at bedrooms and bathrooms. You want to look at quality level of the remodel, right? When you're doing a flip, you want to bring yours up to the level of the neighborhood. You're not going to, maybe you go a little overboard on, some stuff, but you really want to keep it in check. You don't want to overdo your home compared to the rest of the neighborhood. If the neighborhood has granite countertops, you want to put in granite countertops. But I can tell you it's Indiana. So unless you're probably in a $300,000 house, you're probably not seeing granite countertops. You're seeing laminate countertops. These are laminate countertops here, right? You're not seeing high-end cabinetry. Now maybe you get a good price and you go for some nicer kitchen cabinets, but I don't know if like the auto closing doors and the auto closing drawers are big selling features. I've not seen that. I typically do first-time homebuyer stuff for flips, and I've not seen that. People aren't expecting that in the first-time homebuyer stuff. Now, if you're talking the higher-end stuff, then yes, you're going to get into that sort of stuff. Bathrooms. I'll go a little overboard on a master bathroom. Like this one here's got a lot of tile throughout. That's pretty nice. I would do a nice tile surround, or kind of jazz up the master bathroom a little bit. The kitchen and master baths are usually where I spend some money to get those nice. But then the rest, you just got to be on par, right? I'm not going to go out and put granite countertops in the house, though, that needs, that the rest of the neighborhood's got laminate in. It's just, to me, it's not worth it. Unless I'm talking a $300,000 house or something like that, right? Or be $1 million house if it was in California. So, okay, so we're looking at that sort of stuff. So these are kind of where I get kind of comps. So let's go back to my numbers because I like my numbers better. So what we're seeing in here is, so the sold price, this closed price is the closed price. I was assuming earlier that this was not. So this one sold for $136,500, right? So this one's not a comparable. This one is a comparable, $120,000, and this is $106,000. Now, did we look at, oh, that's right, they didn't have any pictures for this one. So we really couldn't tell what the amenity levels was. Oh, this is an as-is. So that's something else to consider. It's an as-is house, meaning that whoever buys it is buying it as is. There's no repairs going to be made, et cetera, et cetera. And then here's our other one here, 115.9. So this is more of a typical sale. They're going to fix some stuff if you find some stuff wrong. We already looked at this one, right? So they got carpets on the floor. It looks like the carpets need to be minimum heavily cleaned, if not replaced. And maybe it doesn't show that badly when you see them in person. The pictures didn't look that great. The flooring. The house looks pretty good. It looks like it's been recently painted. Older appliances. It's a galley style kitchen. Again, carpets. And maybe those carpets, I don't know. See, that looks like heavy soil to me. Heavy traffic pattern, right? Here to there. And, soil. So, these are probably older carpets. Bathrooms. It's decent. It's a typical, what do I want to say? Resale. Person bought it, lived in it for a while, and then now they're selling it. And then like our last one here, is this more of a flip? Let's see. Again, the carpets look a little used. Maybe this one's got a good view out back. It's got a little bit different kitchen. Not as small kitchen-wise. Darker carpets. So this one got the price driven up. When was this done? June, July. So, okay, so let's just go back to our numbers here. So, it's kind of you're going to have to figure out what it's worth to you. So I'm going to look at these two. I'm going to look at 120 and 136.5 sale price, right? I'm going to look at days on market. I think they were both pretty quickly off the market. I can't remember where the heck is days on market up here. Used to be, I had it on here. I don't see it anymore. Oh, here we are, days on market. Now there's such a thing as combined days on market, and that's if sometimes realtors would list a property, have the listing expire after 30 days or 60 days or 90 days, and then they do a new contract. So you might see this days on market say 25, but then you see combined days on market, you'd see 115, right? So it had been on the market for 90 days, and then they put it under a new listing agreement, and so they created a new listing for it. So 90 plus 100, or 90 plus 25 is 115. So you might see that sometimes. Combined days on market's longer. So they kept it off the market for, or not, they didn't even keep it off the market for anything. They just relisted it, but they got new days on market number. Excuse me. So we're talking between 120 and 135,000. So I'm going to say, you know, I mean, you could say you think you're going to get 135 for it. I'm going to probably pull between the two. So it's probably going to be 127.5, right? Or maybe I go for the 120, you know. I mean, it also depends on, you know, what kind of properties they've got. So this one's got a bigger lot. That one sold for 120. This one has, it's on a corner lot right here. See how you got, so two sides. This one's basically three, you know, they're both basically 2 to 3 sides. They don't have, they've got car traffic on, right? So they don't have a lot of privacy. So this one here, 136.5. So they've got a big backyard, right? So maybe that added to our value, right? We can kind of zoom in here, right? So the house comes back here, and then they got a pond out back, right? So they got a decent view. So our property that we're looking at, subject property right here, doesn't really have a spectacular view. You got neighbors to the left of you, neighbors to the right. Here I am stuck in the middle with you. Gosh darn it, that thing's just annoying me right now. Anyway, so, I mean, I'm thinking it's probably a 120, 125, not a 135, right? Isn't that what he said? He thinks it's 135. Yeah, I don't think so. We don't have the big pond behind us, right? So I think it's probably 120, 125. So again, so then let's run the numbers on that, right? Let's just do it. So we think it's a 125 sale. We want to make our 25% profit, or I want to make 25% profit. Less repair estimate. He said 20 grand. Oops, I gotta change it up here. I'm gonna just add another 10,000 in here. So $20,000 costs, purchase costs, $1,000, $24.58.39 for holding costs, $1,000 sales cost, $10,000 sales cost. My max allowable offer is $60,291, and he's asking $77,000. So again, about $17,000 off. So, oops, sorry, trying to come back here. So they're going to make about $17,000 profit on that deal. So it's about a 10%er. So if you did 2, you'd make 20% on your money in a year, which isn't bad, but, you know, again, we're going into a down market. So do you want to run that risk? And $17,000 profit, if there's something major that shows up that you didn't see, foundation issues, or you got to spend more money, you're just cutting into your profits pretty heavily. If you've only got $17,000 in profits on one of these houses and somebody comes out and finds some issue, then that cuts out of your profit. Right? You didn't realize, you thought 20,000 and it ended up costing you 25. Now you just made $10,000 worth of profit. So maybe 6 or 7%. So these are all things you need to consider. All right. You guys have been quiet. Frank and Allie. Anyways, I think I'm done. If you guys got questions or comments, put them below. I'm happy to help any way I can. You know, these are quick and dirty. We didn't even look at houses as far as what the actual work was needed today, but how do you run the numbers on them, right? So anyways, if you got questions, comments, whatever, click the like button, click the subscribe. Thanks guys for the like. I will talk to you later. Thanks guys. Bye.